So I'm sure most of you guys will remember this if you're a regular viewer anyway. The UAW encouraging workers to go on strike. The same workers employed by companies who will be out of business before the decade ends because they were too slow moving towards EVs. Those same companies should now be panicking, urgently trying to cut costs, reduce headcount, scale down, be all in on electric vehicles, trim the fat, become as efficient as possible, focus on a few core, compelling, excellent products, one category killer per category killer, literally copy the Tesla business model, and hope they can rely on milking their existing brand. Customers, I'll only buy a Ford or a GM, or my grandparents, my father, everybody in my family always buys this brand, I'll buy it too. Hopefully they can milk those brand loyal customers and sell some products, a fraction of what they're doing today in ICE sales, but at least they might somehow still survive. Of course, they're not going to do this. The penny hasn't dropped. And here I was thinking that it would be the company's lack of preparedness, the lack of urgency in transitioning to EVs that would ultimately put them out of business. Well, how wrong I was. So after the initial strikes a month ago, I tweeted this. Step 1, demand a 40% raise, which is what the UAW was demanding. General Motors, Ford, Stellantis / Chrysler. Step 2, get a 100% pay cut because the company you work for goes bankrupt because it could not afford to pay you an extra 40%. Rest in peace. Now that we've set the scene, an update. 11th of October, UAW launches strike against Ford's Kentucky truck plant, signaling major escalation in labour fight. Now, if you guys haven't already heard, there were some leaked communications from within the UAW a while ago, seeming to suggest the purpose of these strikes wasn't really to actually get to any resolution, but just to squeeze these companies by the nuts as hard as they possibly could for an extended period of time. A couple of key points. The UAW has unexpectedly if you don't understand their intention, was not to come to a resolution, but to try and kill these companies and win brownie points with its members. Shawn Fain, by the way, an absolute psychopath, this guy. I'm sure many UAW members are worshipping the ground he walks on because they think he's acting in their best interest. But like I've said, when their employer can't afford to meet the demands that Shawn Fain is demanding and they go out of business and these people no longer have a job, I don't think they're going to be worshipping the ground he walks on anymore. So the UAW has, as expected, expanded its US strikes at Ford to a highly profitable SUV and truck plant for the automaker in Kentucky. Now, this is severe. The strike was effective 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday at Ford's Kentucky truck plant, where it employs 8,700 UAW members to produce Ford Super Duty pickups and the Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator SUVs. As in, some of the biggest profit centers from Ford's vehicles are these bad boys. These poor souls. The United Auto Workers Union launched an unexpected strike against Ford at the automaker's highly profitable SUV and pickup truck plant in Kentucky. As we heard, the strike at the plant, Ford's largest in terms of employment and revenue, one more time. Ford's largest plant in terms of employment and revenue. Like I said, the UAW really is trying to kill this company, squeeze them by the nuts as hard as possible. From what's going on, it really does not seem that the UAW is interested in a resolution. It really does seem like Shawn Fain is interested in currying favour with the UAW members as he's recently become the UAW president. Short-sighted, he's a total politician. You see this stuff everywhere in politics. Insane policies pandering to certain segments of a voter base that are either financially catastrophic, unsustainable, can't be implemented or so on. But over the short term, people get behind the cause, they win votes, they win support, they look like a hero. And in a few months or years later, when nothing happens or worse, this pandering results in terrible outcomes. Everyone forgets. This marks a major escalation in the UAW's targeted or stand-up strikes. It also represents a shift in strategy now in the fourth week of expanded strikes. For previous work strikes, UAW President Shawn Fain has publicly announced the targets before the work stoppages occur. A Ford source said the union informed the company early Wednesday afternoon that it wanted a new economic counteroffer, blah, 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 blah. Followed by a meeting request with the UAW's entire Ford bargaining committee, including Fain and Union Vice President Chuck Browning. The source, who agreed to speak on the condition of anonymity because the talks were private, said the meeting had lasted less than 10 minutes before Fain, think about this, declared that the company had lost Kentucky truck. So think about this. They're in a meeting to supposedly negotiate, at least that's what Ford thinks the purpose of the meeting is. Easy mistake to make. Within 10 minutes, Shawn virtue signal Fain, yeah, you guys, yeah, you lost Kentucky, see you, bye. Does this sound like somebody who's interested in negotiating or really just trying to squeeze this company by the nuts? I cannot believe this is happening. The strike was called after Ford refused to make further movement in bargaining. The union said in a release, the surprise move marks a new phase in the UAW's stand-up strike. Now, it might sound to an ill-informed or just naive onlooker
Oh, why would Ford refuse to make any more negotiation? Why would they refuse to negotiate more? That's why they have to negotiate more. They got what they deserved.
See, here's the problem. Ford have come out and said, look, bro, we are actually going to go bankrupt if we meet these demands. We cannot negotiate further. We can't budge anymore. It will blow up the company. We will go bankrupt. Jim Farley is literally on the record saying that these demands would bankrupt Ford. In fairness, even the smaller concessions Ford have already agreed to will bankrupt the company. It's just going to be even slower. But this is the point. Ford can't budge, and they're trying to survive. And in response, the UAW doesn't seem to give a fuck. Once again, it seems like Sean Fain is all about his personal image and his reputation with UAW members, not the economic implications of his insane, financially unsustainable, in fact, financially catastrophic demands. By the way, we are building to a point, so stick with me. A UAW source with knowledge of the talks said Ford did not add any additional cash to its proposed deal, which provoked the strike escalation. The source added the union was expecting Ford to enhance its prior economic offer. Ford said the, quote, decision by the UAW to call a strike at Ford's Kentucky truck plant is grossly irresponsible, accurate, but unsurprising, also accurate, given the union leadership's stated strategy of keeping the Detroit Three wounded for, they found the leaked stuff, yeah. So this is what they're referring to about the internal leak discussion. I'll read this again. Ford said, the decision by the UAW to call a strike at Ford's Kentucky truck plant is grossly irresponsible, but unsurprising given the union leadership's stated strategy of keeping the Detroit Three wounded for months through, quote, reputational damage and, quote, industrial chaos. The latter part of that statement refers to leaked private messages last month in which UAW communications director, who cares his name, discussed the union's public posturing of issues and targeted strikes as causing, quote, recurring reputations damage and operational chaos to the automakers. I mean, this is some nefarious shit, guys. The companies, presumably Ford, GM, etc., have argued the messages as well as the union's actions show UAW negotiators, this is by the way important, were never actually interested in reaching a deal with the Detroit automakers. Exactly. The most insane thing about this is that there is no actual negotiation taking place. It's all a facade. I mean, Ford, GM, etc. are trying to negotiate with UAW, but UAW is not here to negotiate. Per their leaked messages, they're literally just trying to squeeze the nuts of these companies until they burst. Why? To curry favour with UAW members who don't know any better. We want to get more money. Yeah, we're striking. Yeah, good on you, UAW. I love you. Idiots. Quote, we have been crystal clear and we have waited long enough, but Ford has not gotten the message, Fain said in a statement Wednesday. The bullshit from Fain, so easily transparent with those leaked messages. We know what's really going on behind the scenes, what UAW's intentions are. Quote, it's time for a fair contract at Ford and the rest of the big three. If they can't understand that after 4 weeks, the 8,700 workers shutting down this extremely profitable plant will help them understand it. Ford said the new strike puts at risk approximately a dozen additional operations at the automaker and, quote, many more supplier operations that together employ well over 100,000 people. And again, this is extremely important. It's not just the automakers themselves at risk, but their suppliers, who, if you don't know, if you're a parts supplier, a component supplier to an automotive manufacturer, you only have a couple of customers, literally a handful of customers, accounting for all of your business, high volumes. And if for any reason one of your customers is no longer buying parts or components, you're fucked. If 2 or 3 of them is no longer buying components, you are super fucked. And the problem is, if a supplier blows up, the whole supply chain blows up. Domino effect, and you have an absolute implosion. This is going to be an absolute disaster. It's insane. And the worst part of all, if these suppliers want to stay in business, they need to go borrow money to cover overhead, to cover costs, because a lot of fixed costs, they don't change, even if they're not making parts. And they'll have layoffs too. And they'll need to borrow money at record high interest rates. This is madness. Ford said it had presented an outstanding offer and, quote, has been bargaining in good faith this week. Well, that makes one of the parties. On joint venture battery plants, which have been a recent focus of the talks. Government Motors last week agreed to include workers at its electric vehicle battery plant in the company's national contract with a union, which Fain called, quote, a transformative win. You did it, Mary. Now, in case you guys don't know, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I don't really think Mary Barra gives a fuck. I mean, she might pretend to care. She might seem like she cares, but I personally believe Mary's in it for Mary. Whereas Jim Farley of Ford does actually care about the company surviving, as opposed to my personal opinion is that Mary Barra of GM cares about getting a golden parachute a few years from now and getting the fuck out of the company before it blows up. She's an incompetent leader, but a great politician, much like Sean Fain. So, if that's true, you might expect that Mary B.S. Barra and General Motors agree to more egregious terms that are unsustainable because Mary's not going to be there a few years from now. So who cares what happens to the company? Whereas I think Ford and Farley are going to push back a lot harder, go, guys, that's going to go bankrupt us. We can't do it. So no. Fain said the union expects Chrysler parent Stellantis and Ford to follow suit, including battery plant workers, in eventual contract agreements. The UAW has been gradually increasing the strike since the work stoppages began after the sides failed to reach tentative agreements by September 14th, literally a month ago. The additional workers bring UAW's total of about 34,000 US workers, or roughly 23% of UAW members covered by the expired contracts with the Detroit automakers who are currently on strike. So basically a quarter of these companies' employees currently on strike. Fain will give bargaining updates and potentially, almost certainly, announce further strikes at 10 a.m. Friday online, the union said Wednesday night. And now, part 2 of this tragedy. Ford lays off more workers amid ongoing UAW strike. With the United Auto Workers Union strike against Ford, GM and Stellantis on the cusp of reaching the 1-month mark, the union has thus far walked out several plants owned and operated by the Detroit Big Three automakers. On the Ford side, that includes the Michigan assembly plant, which builds the Bronco, the Ranger, plus the Chicago assembly plant, where it produces the Explorer and the Lincoln Aviator. And just last night, it added the Kentucky truck plant, which produces Ford Super Duty, Expedition and Lincoln Navigator. As a result, Ford Motor Company has laid off over 1,000 workers at various other facilities that support those plants. And that number continues to grow as the automaker has laid off an additional 58 workers at the Sterling Axle plant. Quote, and this is very important, our production system is highly interconnected, which means the UAW's targeted strike strategy will have knock-on effects for facilities that are not directly targeted for a work stoppage, Ford said in a statement. This is true. Like I said, domino effect on this, next level. In this case, the strike at the Chicago assembly plant has directly impacted some operations at the Sterling Axle plant. An additional 58 Sterling Axle plant employees were asked not to report to work beginning October 11th, bringing the Axle plant's layoff total to 133. Skipping ahead a bit, this layoff is a consequence of the strike at the Chicago assembly plant because the Axle plant must reduce its production of parts that would normally be shipped to the Chicago assembly plant. Exactly. After laying off 600 workers at the Michigan assembly plant, the expanded strike at Chicago has thus far resulted in another 234 layoffs at a stamping plant, 184 at an engine plant, and another 391 at a transmission plant, plus 133 at an axle plant, 372 at an engine plant, for a total of 1,920 total layoffs. However, it isn't just Ford and its counterparts that are feeling the effects of the OW strike. It's also impacting around 30% of automotive suppliers as well. Yeah, I mean, you know the most insane thing about this? The absolutely incompetent and also very corrupt President of the United States literally attended UAW strikes to rally the troops, to get behind them. I mean, how much of a fucking moron do you need to be as a President of the United States to not understand the economic implications of blowing up a huge section of the automotive industry and as a result, also the suppliers? Literally hundreds of thousands of jobs are now at stake. This is just next level. In spite of that fact, UAW President Sean Fain recently said the union has made significant progress in contract talks. Bullshit. Two major sticking points remain that have yet to be overcome. The union's desire to restore the same retirement security that was previously provided by pre-2007 defined benefit pension plans, as well as including existing and future joint venture EV battery plants in master contracts with automakers. Now, did something happen in 2007 that kind of made everyone reassess, let's say, certain expenses within automotive businesses in particular? Like maybe companies went bankrupt because they were committing to things they couldn't afford pre-2007, and then the US taxpayers bailed them out, and after it's like, well, we've learned a fucking lesson there, we're not doing that again, otherwise we'll go bankrupt again. Yeah, no, that didn't happen, so there's absolutely nothing to see here. I'm sure the legacy automotive manufacturers in the United States will be totally fine. The employees are not currently f***ing around. They're definitely not going to find out, and I should probably delete this post on X because it's not going to age well. I'm sure that when they demand a 40% pay rise, they won't get a 100% pay cut because the company they work for goes bankrupt because they can't afford the 40%. In fact, maybe they should go for 50% because why the f*** not? This is existential, guys. Like, extremely dangerous times now. If this is not resolved urgently, it's going to be a cataclysmic event. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Wouldn't it be ironic if the Detroit 3 go out of business, not because of electric vehicles, but instead because of a psychopath at the United Auto Workers Union? Unbelievable. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. It certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point and something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy. Wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1 shit, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments.
Oh my god, snake oil salmon sold out. Oh my god, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But
constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link at the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.